And guys, in this next news story, a sadistic couple who tortured a woman and made her drink human urine have been jailed for a total of 25 years. Iman Kohli, who's 37, and her toy boy boyfriend, Mohammed Khan, stormed the victim's HMO, beat her up and forced her to strip before stealing her belongings, including her 3 cats. Kohli had previously kept another woman captive in her own home for more than 2 months, during which she set her on fire and made her drink bleach. Khan carried out a vicious hammer attack of his own on a man in a separate incident. Both were convicted of a string of offences including wounding with intent, administering a noxious substance, and burglary. Kohli was jailed for 14 years yesterday, and Khan was sentenced to 11 years. Both also received 4-year extended licence periods after being declared dangerous by the judge Peter Cook. The offences dated back to 2023. After being released from prison, the court heard Kohli rekindled a relationship with the self-confessed drug dealer Mr. Khan. The first victim, a woman, ended up saddled with her boyfriend's drug debt to Khan after he left her. Kohli had initially befriended the woman but soon turned against her and cuckooed her home, effectively moving herself in and allowing Khan to use it as a supply base. Kohli proceeded to throw out her mattress and make the woman who was disabled sleep on the hard floor. For weeks on end, between May and August that year, the victim's movements were severely curtailed and controlled, said the Judge Cook, who added she was not allowed to leave unsupervised or unchaperoned. He continued, during that ordeal, she was assaulted with conspicuous cruelty by Iman Kohli. Kohli punched, slapped and kicked her in front of her gang of drug users. In further incidents, she set fire to her hair before shaving and cutting it, telling her she would look like the pop star Rihanna. Instead, the woman was ridiculed. On one occasion, she was told to drink a glass of vodka, which was in fact bleach. When she refused, Kohli poured it in her face, causing it to burn her throat and stomach. The woman also had her glasses taken off from her and was deprived of food while being forced to watch her pizza being fed to dogs. In the end, she was reduced to eating scraps she could find in the bin, said Judge Cook, who added, had that been the measure of Iman Kohli, it would have been bad enough, but there's worse to come. On June 11, 2023, Khan attacked a man with a hammer in a separate incident. The victim did not cooperate with the investigation, but Khan claimed he was asleep in a friend's car when the man who supposedly had a knife tried to steal the vehicle. Khan chased him down the street to a doorway where CCTV captured him repeatedly striking the victim with a hammer. He knocked the man to the floor and continued to inflict blows with a weapon, as well as 3 distinct stamps. Judge Cook said the victim suffered horrible injuries in the especially vicious and sustained attack, and a third victim, a woman, was attacked by the couple together. By this time, Kohli had moved to a HMO and had taken a dislike to the victim. On August the 12th that year, Khan kicked in her door and stormed her flat with Kohli while 2 other people watched on. Judge Cook said what was done over at least the next 4 hours or so to her was horrific. Previously, I have used the word torture. I don't resile from that. It was the most appalling displays of cruelty to a completely helpless and defenseless person. The woman was twice forced to take showers and stripped while her body piercings were removed in circumstances of extreme humiliation. She had cat food smeared in her face, was forced to drink flash floor cleaner, and had her nose broken, which Kohli celebrated as blood poured out. Judge Cook said then, in what was perhaps the single most degrading aspect of the whole episode, the first woman, herself a victim of these pair, was escorted into the room and instructed to squat over the second woman and urinate in her mouth, which she did. He continued, having heaped violence upon violence, the nasty behaviour of these 2, they effectively dumped the woman and her flat and her belongings. They also took the victim's 3 cats, one of which has not been returned to her since. Judge Cook said vicious Kohli had treated her 2 victims in an astonishingly inhumane fashion. Following a trial, she was found guilty of false imprisonment, assault, occasional actual bodily harm, and administering a noxious substance in relation to the first victim, as well as inflicting GBH and 2 counts of administering a noxious substance concerning the second woman. She admitted burglary. Daniel Oscroft, the defense, confirmed she maintained a denial. She said this was a toxic relationship with Khan and the behavior she displayed that was so severe was something that wouldn't have taken place, not for the nature of that relationship. That was her excuse. The barrister also told the court that the mother of 5 had an awful upbringing and became addicted to drugs but remained clean for 13 years only to relapse upon suffering postnatal depression. Said she descended into drug and alcohol addiction, led to a prison for a series of burglaries in 2019 where she targeted vulnerable people. He said she fell onto the orbit of Khan after being released and having nowhere to live, and Khan, who was a subject of a £10,000 Crime Stoppers appeal, admitted 2 counts of inflicting GBH with intent, 2 counts of administering a noxious substance, and 1 of burglary. His defense solicitor said he was immature at the time. Khan worked as a delivery driver and came from a decent family but lost contact with them after taking Class A drugs, which he began dealing to fund his own addiction, and his barrister said he was genuinely sorry for his actions. Next news story. A burglar has been jailed over a horrific watch and jewellery raid on a home. Hassan Manasari, who's 27 from Peckham, pleaded guilty to aggravated burglary, GBH with intent, possession of a knife or bladed article, possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life, and possession of ammunition for a firearm without a certificate. After a trial, Solwazi Asanati, who's 19 of Watford, was also convicted of aggravated burglary, possession of a knife or bladed article, possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life, and possession of ammunition for a firearm without a certificate. Manasari was sentenced to a total of 9 years for all counts, while Asante was handed a total of 11 years. In April 2023, the burglars entered a family home in Grays in Essex in the middle of the night and threatened a family, demanding watches and jewellery. One of the victims required hospital treatment for the injuries after getting battered really badly, and police also found a gun at the scene. Detective Inspector Fraser Lowe said this was a horrific ordeal for the family, who were confronted with violent offenders in their home whilst they were sleeping. Said our response officers responded quickly to the emergency and were able to protect the victims and immediately arrest one of the suspects. They said no one should be left fearing for their safety in their own home, and I am glad we've been able to bring this case before the court, and these 2 people, Hassan and Solwazi, will now be punished for their actions and will be sentenced for a long time, which obviously we know one of them got 9 years and one of them got 11 years. So guys, this is a couple of news stories coming out from the streets of the UK. Once again, if you already haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. Please give this video a little like. I'd appreciate it. It's your boy GT. Keep it locked. Keep it real.